Hi Scorpio, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your March 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12 card spread with each of those cards representing a different house of the zodiac. Starting with your sign as the first house, all the way through to Libra representing the 12th house. And once we get to the main spread, we'll actually pull an oracle card for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used, for the main tarot deck, we have the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, and for the Oracle card, will be used in Wisdom the Oracle. But we're actually going to start the reading off by rolling those astrology decks we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, well, we have Scorpio. So, could just be saying that you guys might be a little bit more focused on yourselves than usual this month. I mean, astrologically speaking, there's not really anything going on in your sign right now, but we'll keep that in mind. Alright, we have 6. So 6th house energy for you guys is Aries, and yeah, there's plenty going on there. We've had Chiron in there for a very long time, and then recently Neptune and Saturn both moved into Aries, and then of course, when we get to the 20th of March, the Sun will be there as well. Yeah, so again, definitely plenty going on in your 6th house, so it makes sense to see that this will come up. And we have Venus. So Venus currently is in Pisces on the 6th of March. It's also going to move into Aries with everything else we were just talking about. And then at the very end of March, it'll move into Taurus. So it's going to be in your 5th house for the first week of March. Then it'll move into your 6th house and then eventually end up on your 7th house. Oh yeah, sorry, I just realized I had this in the wrong spot. But we'll keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread. So again, like we said, this came up as significant for you guys this month, and for first house energy, which in general points to personality, self-awareness, even appearance to an extent, we have the 10 of scepters. So this is the equivalent of the 10 of wands in traditional tarot. You see the Sagittarius symbolism there. So yeah, so this could just be saying you could be feeling a little bit burdened this month, maybe at least somewhat tied to finances, your possessions, so maybe that's something that's weighing heavily on you at this time, and it could just be saying that could just be putting a lot of energy and focus toward that area of life this month. Alright, in the 2nd house, which generally points to possession, self-worth, and finances, which for you guys, like we said, would be Sagittarius, we do see the 9 of orbs. So the 9 of Pentacles, essentially. So this could just be pointing to maybe why you are feeling a little bit burdened, right? Maybe this is because this energy, generally speaking, is quite an independent energy. So it could just be saying you might be feeling like you're having to take on everything yourself when it comes to your finances, right? So, for example, let's say if you're in a partnership, right? Maybe the person that you're with might have recently lost their source of income. So now you're having to provide for both of you, right? So it could just be something like that. Or it could just be maybe you're shifting gears, right? So maybe if you were in a partnership with someone, a financial partnership, maybe you're trying to transition more to handling it more on your own. And with that comes the added responsibility and having to shift things around. But either way, looks like this is a bit of a supportive energy too, though. Usually the 9 of Pentacles energy, while it is independent, is often a sign of a level of success as well. Could just be feeling a little bit tricky to get there right now. So for the 3rd house, which represents communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the Warrior, which in this deck, that's basically the equivalent of the Sun card. So yeah, it could just be saying that when it comes to your communication, you might be coming across very clearly this month, very confidently, which is interesting, right? Because we have that Mercury retrograde energy that's just about to kick off in your 5th house. The Sun is traditionally the ruler of the 5th house, so maybe this is one of those things where it could be things that you've had on your mind for a long time, right? But you weren't quite sure when to say it, how to say it. Maybe these energies are actually bringing those feelings to the forefront to where you are ready to communicate them now. Especially given what we were talking about when we were talking about the 6th house energy, you guys had Saturn in your 5th house for a long time and Neptune, right? So it could just be saying that maybe that had your confidence a little bit shaken, right? Maybe you were second guessing yourselves a little bit more than you typically would have, and now you're starting to feel a little bit of alleviation from that. All right. And the fourth house, which in general points to home, roots, family, we have the Emperor. So this is Aries energy here. Could just be saying that when you're at home, right? When you're home with your thoughts, possibly, you feel a lot more confident, a lot more bold. For some of you, maybe if you've lost a father figure in your life, you might just feel like they're around you more so this month. Even if you don't necessarily feel them directly, let's say in a more of a spiritual sense, maybe even just find yourselves repeating things that they used to say, right? Not even realizing it until you say it. Or just adjusting and maybe embracing energy that they used to have in general. I'm trying to find the right words to get what I'm feeling with this. But yeah, that's primarily what I'm feeling, where you might find yourself doing something that they always used to do and then catching yourselves after the fact. And I feel like it's going to be in a lighthearted way, though, to where it might make you laugh, right? So even if, like I said, if you don't feel like there's spiritual presence around you, you might just find yourselves doing something that they always used to do, and it might actually brighten the mood for the moment. All right, in the fifth house, which in general points to romance, creativity, and children, we have the Shining Quarry. So this basically is the equivalent of the Knight of Pentacles, which is a Virgo energy. So it could just be saying that maybe when you're interacting with your usual friend group, right, you might have these creative ideas that come to you. Maybe you just feel comfortable expressing those ideas to them as well. So I feel like that could be how it's coming across to you. And it could just be saying that you might actually also spark ideas in others, right? Just being around each other. So it could just be one of those things where, again, that might not have been the goal going into it, but as you interact with each other, it could just be saying that you might find yourselves embracing these creative energies. For some of you, this could even just be saying in more of a romantic sense, right? If there's maybe someone that's been in your friend group for a while and you're starting to feel some romantic interest from them, it could just be saying that maybe you're starting to explore it a little bit more, but taking it very slow at the same time. All right, so as we saw, sixth house energy came out as significant for you guys this month, and to go along with that, we have the Shining Gale. So this is basically the equivalent of the Knight of Swords. So yeah, it could just be saying that maybe you're a little bit more bold and confident when it comes to expressing yourselves within the workplace, right? Maybe just your to a lesser extent, maybe just groups you deal with, right? Could just be saying that this is one of those things where you're going to be a little bit more outspoken. You're going to be more direct with your communication around how you want to see things get done in those environments. And, well, like we said, there's plenty of energy going on there that could point to that, right? All of the energy that'll be passing through Aries and some that's already in there. All right, so for seventh house energy, which in general points to partnerships and contracts, we have the Four of Orbs. So Four of Pentacles is this Capricorn energy here. So yeah, it could just be saying that when it comes to your relationships, maybe things feel a little bit more restricted, right? So like I said, for some of you, maybe this is a financial thing where, like I said, maybe your partner doesn't have as much to contribute this month as far as resources. So maybe you're finding that you're having to support both of you for the time being. Could be something like that. For some of you, this could be, as opposed to actual physical resources, could be more of an emotional thing too, right? Where they might be a little bit more withdrawn, and then you're feeling a little bit burdened there. Like, okay, am I in a relationship here or not, right? It feels like this person is holding back around me. So could be feeling like a bit of a disconnect there. But yeah, either way, I feel like this is pointing to overall a more measured energy. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be a negative thing. It could just be saying that there's a lot of thought going into things before investing into them. Speaking of investing, for eighth house energy, which in general points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Golden Shield. So this is basically the equivalent of the Queen of Wands. So seeing this here, which once again, Queen of Wands would be Aries energy. So it seems like everywhere you go, you can't escape the Aries energy this month, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Traditionally, you guys are ruled by Mars, and so is Aries. But yeah, to see this here could just be saying that, again, I feel like you're wanting to take the lead in something. For some of you, maybe it feels like a bit of a burden to do so. But at the same time, I feel like you're being called to take that lead at this time, too. So for some of you, like I said, this could be romantic partnerships, maybe even business situations as well. But I feel like this is saying that you're just being nudged into a bit more of a leadership role this month. All right. In the ninth house, which generally points to philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the Angel of Mysteries. Excuse me, Archangel of Mysteries. So this is basically the equivalent of the King of Pentacles. And interesting to see this come up here too, because for you guys, given that Cancer is your ninth house, we will have Jupiter finally starting a direct cycle in Cancer around the 10th of March. So this could just be saying as far as that goes, right? So given that we're seeing the Pentacle energy come up here for that, could just be saying that for a lot of you, if there's been a bit of a blockage when it came to creative ideas around finances, right? How best to handle them, how to invest, which opportunities to pursue, which versus which ones to pass up on. You could just feel a little bit more concrete and firm in your decision making when it comes around that. And that could be the primary reason why, like we said, finally Jupiter felt like it's been retrograde forever in Cancer. Now, as it finally starts direct motion on the 10th of March, you might finally start to feel like any blockages you felt there are starting to lift. All right. In the 10th house, which in general points to career and social status, we have the Four of Scepters. So, Four of Wands, which you guessed it, more Aries energy. So, like I said, so much energy going for you guys as far as sixth house Aries energy in general. But this is definitely a positive energy. So this could just be saying that you could find a solid partnership for yourselves. Now, of course, yes, could be a romantic partnership, but again, especially for you guys, Aries being more of a work-oriented house and all of the energy we were talking about going through your sixth house, this could just be one of those things where this is saying you might see some growth within your careers, right? So even if you're still within the same job, let's say, but you just find someone else within that work environment that you could really partner up with and help build things up together, that could be what you're finding there. And then, yes, like I said, for some of you, of course, it could be more of a romantic thing. I mean, after all, we do see the Venus symbol with the Aries symbol as well, right? And then, speaking of which, we did mention the fact that with the Venus energy we were speaking of, it will spend a lot of time in Aries this month as well, well, in March, I should say. All right, so for the 11th house, which in general points to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the Five of Orbs. So, Five of Pentacles, basically, which is a Taurus energy. So, now this could be playing out a few different ways, right? Now, usually in a lot of decks, when we see the Five of Pentacles, there are two people in the card together, right? It just looks like, obviously, they've had better days. So, for some of you, this could just be saying that within the groups that you're dealing with, maybe you're going to feel a certain level of disappointment there. We see a lot of spiritual symbolism in the background as well, which we tend to see with the traditional tarot as well. So maybe it's just saying that you might find that those that you interact with might not share the same beliefs as you do, right? Whether it's you might be changing your beliefs or they are, excuse me, or you're just discussing them more openly now and finding that there's splits there. Could just be a level of disappointment when it comes to that. But again, even if that's the case, like I said, it seems like there's at least one person that you could really build with this month. And for the 12th house, which points to spirituality, blind spots, mental health, we have the Ace of Swords. So for you guys, 12th house energy is Libra. So for some of you, this could just be saying maybe how you view partnerships might be getting reframed this month. You know, maybe you view things in a certain way. Now, it's hard to say it without it sounding like a negative, but it's not necessarily how I'm feeling it, though. But I was going to say, like, let's say if you viewed relationships as a more transactional thing, right? Which sounds a little unlikely for Scorpio energy, but let's just say if that is how you did view things. Now, maybe as you're progressing through events happening around you, you might start to find like, was that really the right approach to things, right? Or maybe for some of you are wondering if you should move more in that direction, right? Where like, I can't rely on, one person handling all of one type of energy, the other person expected to bring all the other, right? So you might want more of a meeting of the minds there. You might want to feel like you're with equals as far as that goes. But yeah, could just be saying that that's things that you're looking at this month, right? And asking yourself, like, okay, is there something I could change? Am I possibly getting myself into these situations? And just viewing that doesn't necessarily have to be a negative, of course. Usually, when I do see the Ace of Swords, it's a positive. And given that it is in your 12th house, could just be saying if there's some way you've been getting in your own way, you could finally have an epiphany around that and start to clear that out. All right. And for the bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Scepters. So basically, this is the equivalent of the Ace of Wands. So yeah, so it could just be saying again, the feeling that I'm getting is that for a lot of you, you're really gonna, on the one hand, you're being nudged into a leadership role. Again, like I said, it doesn't like it's always going to be easy, right? Maybe you don't even feel like you desire that all the time, but ultimately, it looks like it's one of those things that you're being nudged toward. Could be more of a temporary thing, especially given that beneath that we do see the Empress saying that, it could just be one of those things where you're being asked to push a lot in the current month, and then maybe as we progress more toward Taurus season, you might finally be able to fall back a little bit and rely more on those around you to step up a little bit more, which would make sense as far as that being more of a 7th house transit for you. But we'll see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So, like I mentioned, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. I'm just going to give this a few extra shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. Alright, take this card here, get this out of the way, and then we'll see what you guys got. Alright, we have Clean It Up. So yeah, that does sound like a transitory type of thing, right? Where, like I said, maybe you are feeling like you have to make one last push, but it seems like on the other side of that, you will be able to relax. But there's the artwork. The number is 21, and we'll see what it says in the book. All right, essential meanings says getting to the core of a situation, freedom from a burden, cleaning house, sweeping away what is no longer needed. The Oracle's message: ever feel so bogged down with emotional gunk that you can't think straight? Could you be surrounded by physical clutter in your house also? Too much work? Overwhelmed? Time to clean house. Every item out of way natters away at you. Every unresolved resentment, every comparison to others that leads to a sense of lack, takes up energetic space. Every unpaid bill just adds to an unnecessary feeling of being overwhelmed. Now is the time to free yourself by energetically cleaning house. Just do it. Make room for the miracles that are lining up for you. So yeah, definitely an interesting message there. Again, what we were talking about is regarding the spread as a whole, and then, like I said, seeing the Empress underneath the Ace of Wands there. Like I said, it could just be one of those things where you're being asked to make one last push to help clear the way for better things ahead. The relationship message says, time to clear the air, take a look at your side of the street, and say what's on your mind. Sweep away the old stuff so that a spring breeze can flow through with new energy. It's the perfect time to do an inventory of your dynamics and see what's yours and what's not yours to clean up the relationship. Everyone brings some baggage. Sort through what you brought with you and let go of what is no longer needed. Become unencumbered and your relationship will flourish. So yeah, definitely a positive message there for those of you who are in a relationship. Like I said, it looks like if that is the case, it looks like there might be a bit of an energy of holding back, right? Maybe moving a little bit slow with things. But there is that room for clarity and improvement on the other side of that too. And the prosperity message says simple things like opening your mail, paying bills, sorting out your timetable, making lists, and getting organized is what the symbol means when it comes to your work. Make time for yourself too. This card is a sign you may be overburdened and overwhelmed. It's okay to say no. You'll prosper even more if you do. So yeah, so reading that and like we said, seeing the burden one, which is what the 10 of Wands is called in this deck, right in your first house, seems like this goes along with the overall theme of the main spread as well. So hopefully that resonated for you guys, and we'll wrap up there. All right, bye.